Cool.
Recording in progress.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the final Profits at Noon session of the week. It is noon Eastern on the hour. We have just opened up the room. Feel free to trickle in, get settled, find that great seat. We're going to get started in just a minute here, guys and gals. If you're joining us over on the simulcast on YouTube, a quick shout out to you. Welcome. If you have any interest in joining us in these Zoom sessions directly, check the description beneath the video. There is a link where you can register to sign up and get the VIP bottle service here in Zoom. We'd love to have you. CL, Mark, Imtiaz, if I'm saying that correctly, feel free to correct me, but welcome all. It's great to see you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Excellent. We've got a little good crew coming here together. I know Thursday's been hit or miss for a few of our regular folks. Just seems to be a busier day. No problem. We'll give them a chance to catch up or catch up in the replay. Awesome. Well, if you're new to these sessions, my name is Nate. I co-host these sessions with our very own Richard Krugel. As you know, the sessions are titled Profits at Noon, and the goal here is for us to walk you through the levels that we are stalking for entry. So our good friend Richard here is going to walk us through 6 of our favorite futures markets, give us some in-depth live analysis, and of course what we call our levels to lock. So again, the goal here is to give you some actionable analysis, some levels you can stalk along with us. And then of course, we encourage you to join us in the follow-up sessions so we can see how all this analysis plays out in real time. We are live 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, all at noon Eastern time. So you may have noticed as well, lurking here in the shadows with us is a very special guest today. Very, very special guest. In fact, our very own Kyle Kinne is in the house. So he's going to be jumping in as soon as Richard covers off today's analysis. We'll have a pretty cool interactive session in store for you. So feel free to chime in the chat along the way. If you have any questions as we go, we'll be happy to make sure everything is addressed here today. But without further ado, let's go ahead and fire up today's session. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Richard Krugel. Sir, would you take the reins and lead today's analysis?
Thanks, Nathan, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending today's session. Yeah, we got Carl on board today, so I'm be happy to also, well, looking forward to see what he's thinking about some of the markets we're going to cover today. But before we do get started, as always, guys, just a quick reminder that all information in today's session is provided for educational purposes only, and it's not an offer or recommendation to trade future stocks, options, or Forex. Right, let's dive straight into the charts. Just quickly close that window, and I'm just going to disappear off screen here for a little while. I'll be back with my beautiful face in just a sec after the analysis. Right, guys, so yesterday I drew in this channel to the upside, and thus far it's been acting as support, let's say angular support and resistance pretty well, and that's assuming that we are dealing with a 5th wave sequence to the upside. Now, for those new to the sessions, I've just been tracking this move higher that started here around about the beginning of March, and we labeled this as a potential 1st wave high, 2nd wave low. And we had what I labeled a 3rd wave, and then we correctly identified right as it was about to end, the end of a potential 4th wave. I'm saying potential because things can obviously always change, but that this entire pattern here was potentially an expanding triangle or mega fund pattern, as some might call it. And then soon after that completed, price made new highs. Now, it's the sequence, or let's say the price structure of how this actually happened. We didn't have blast off like the NQ to new highs. We made a sort of like a 3-wave movement, moved all the way back, and now we've broken back to new highs again. Now, this week we started seeing, or this week started off with a decline again, but it's still my thinking that if this is a 5-wave sequence, that it might be tracing out as an ending diagonal. Now, after a 5-wave sequence, we can generally, like you'll see in just a while, be tracked on the gold. You could expect a potential deeper decline. Now, a deeper decline to potentially retrace a decent portion of this move that we've been tracking to the upside. So, yeah, while price stays within the confines of this channel, I would expect price to continue higher. We've had this little instance where price actually broke below this channel line. Now, there was a little bit of news come out today. Apparently, the Fed sort of hinted that they will not raise interest rates. Whether they will or not, we'll have to see for the month of June. So that potentially spurred things back up to the upside. We're seeing strong moves back to the upside again on the ES, NQ, and the YM across the board. I think the Russell as well. So, yeah, price has sort of been hovering here at today's pivot point at 4,193, up and down, up and down. I think it was also today's job numbers that came in. When was that? At 8:15. That came in pretty hot. They were much stronger than expected. And as you probably all know these days, good news is probably, I want to say this. I want to say good news is probably bad news when it comes to raising interest rates, because the Fed was going to, keep an eye on economic data. If things remain pretty strong in the economy, then they might raise the interest rates. And then I think afterwards they mentioned that they might not for the month of June, and that could potentially be why prices are moving back up to the upside. So this decline here might have ended already, and price might be heading way back up to make new highs. So we just busted through R1 at 4,212. It just reached today's projected range high at around 4,222.75. And above that, we have R2 at 4,237, and also projected range highs right at these previous highs, as well as at projected high deviation. Now, whether price got enough legs to reach that today, obviously can't tell you that, but it'll be interesting to see if price can, on this current 4-hour candle, close above the center channel line, whether, that's going to hold, and let's see if price can make it to new highs. So it'd be interesting, what I wanted to say, to see if price, when it hits this upper channel line, if it will act as resistance this time around. So if this is some sort of a leading diagonal, ending diagonal, then I think it's still sort of like in the midway in the process, potentially another wave higher, maybe another one to the downside, and then another move up to the upside again. Unless obviously all hell breaks loose and we see a very sharp decline. Remember, tomorrow's job numbers are the actual ones, the ones that came out today, sort of like a leading figure into the job numbers. But again, they were pretty strong. So who knows how the market's going to react, how investors are going to see things or digest news when that comes out tomorrow. So, yeah, it's remaining bullish on the ES and expecting potential break of these highs. Whether that happens today or tomorrow, we'll have to just wait and see. Obviously, we'll recap things again on Monday during the profit at noon session. NQ, on the other hand, I also changed this pitchfork that I've had on my chart for quite some time. I just want to crunch things up a little bit here. And I used different historical anchor points over here. So this is currently my sort of what I call the operating angle of support and resistance, or trajectory of this move to the upside. And we'll see that beginning of this week, that price sort of missed this upper red warning line and started the decline to the downside. I was saying that if it would retest this upper median line, that could actually act as support. It hasn't even reached that yet, and we're seeing lift off here on the NQ again. Obviously, the NQ being the stronger amongst all the other indices. So price sort of been hovering below today's pivot point at 14,323. Just busted through R1. I can't see that label. 14,395.75, and it's now reached another angular resistance line. Looks like it potentially could bust through that. Then I would say we're potentially moving towards today's projected range high at 14,467. And above that, we have R2 at 14,500, very close to this previous highs, and might see a break above that. Again, if price were to reach this upper red warning line, whether that's today, tomorrow, or next week, that could potentially be an area of strong resistance. I'll show you this on, when was it? On Russell, not Russell, on the Dow, which is up next. On the analysis side of things, how quite often these red warning lines catches the extremities, and then quite often see a deeper decline from there. So also bullish on the NQ. Price didn't reach this median line here. Doesn't really have to, obviously, but we're seeing lift off again. So pretty strong here on the NQ. YM, on the other hand, we've also had a pitchfork since around beginning of March. And this is a great example of how price reached an upper red warning line. We had a strong decline. Then price pipped that previous high that was around about the end of April. And we had this move to the downside. Obviously, the YM being the weaker out of the two other indices, the ES and the NQ. So I'm going to start getting rid of this pitchfork sloping to the upside just because my chart looks extremely messy. But what I want to do is I want to draw in this line over here, because previously price broke below it. It also reached a 61.8 retracement that we were looking at last week. And it has found support there. I think back then we also had a third deviation range low at that sort of same level. So that's acted beautifully as support. Now let me just get this line on here properly so I can go and delete this mess. Just bear with me, guys. All right, cool. That cleans up a little bit more. Get rid of these lines. Could have probably done this before the session, so just bear with me. But in any case, I've been saying for a while that this probably could be corrective in nature. Now, if it was or still is, then what pattern sort of fits that? And I've been thinking for a while that we potentially had an ABC X and then a long-winded ABC that potentially ended at that golden ratio 61.8. Went a little bit below it, but sort of around about the 32,680 handle, somewhere around that. Strong move back up. Like I said, it reached and found resistance at a retest of that low red warning line. It almost broke below these recent lows and is now heading back upwards. Now, if price were to break these highs, we just got to see how it would react if it retests that lower red median line again. But that could potentially have been the end of correction. But my goodness, YM's got a lot of work to do still to the upside. It's like really lagging behind. So it still needs quite a monstrous move back up to make it to new highs. That being said, been a bit of a mixed bag. Price opened above today's pivot point at 32,933. We had a strong sell-off. Price nearly reached today's projected range low at 32,720. And now we have liftoff all the way back to the upside, just broke above today's projected range high, took out R1 and is, I think, pretty much pipped or just reached today's projected high deviation at, again, behind that label 33,175. So it does look like price might be heading to at least break these new highs, or these highs, not new highs, these previous highs over here. And again, in the bigger picture sort of view, this could have potentially been the end of a correction. So also bullish on the YM, but like I said, still got a lot of work to do to the upside to recover all of this losses that it's posted over the last, couple of months or so. So yeah, bullish on the YM, NQ, and the ES. Russell, on the other hand, as you probably all know, if you're new to today's session, not one of my favorite markets to trade. It's been an absolute mess, stuck in a very, very large range here. I was like sort of to and throwing between whether this is just some sort of a range or maybe perhaps this could be a very messy sort of a triangular formation. All right, potentially a symmetrical triangle. So if that is the case, then potentially we had an A, a B, a C. Now, I was saying during the start of this week that if we do find support here, without making a new low below these lows in the beginning of May, then if we do see another move back up to the upside and it finds resistance somewhere and we start seeing a sell-off, that could actually then explain what all of this mess was, i.e. a triangle of some sort. Again, very messy triangle. So yeah, maybe it's even better just waiting for price, from my side at least, to break either above these ranges on top and or the downside before I'll like start thinking about which direction the Russell might take over the near term. That being said, same thing as with the YM price, opened or hovered slightly above today's pivot point at 1,755. The previous candle price moved all the way down, didn't even reach S1, and now we have liftoff here as well. Price just broke above today's R1 at 1771, and it's sort of hovering now at today's projected range high at 1782. So also bullish on the Russell, but I would say cautiously bullish on the Russell. potentially towards a retracement of this move to the downside. Then potentially find resistance and then give us that final E wave with a decline. But that's just speculation, obviously, at the moment. But yeah, good luck trying to figure out what's going on here. Very, very messy price action indeed. Right, so then I had to obviously go redo all my market geometry and my labeling here on gold because we changed to the August contract recently. But from a sequence perspective, we labeled this as a 1, sort of right from the end of Feb. This is a 2, and this is a 3, and this is a 4, and that is a 5. So I've had also here a channel that I drew from this low to this low to that high over here, sort of mid-April, and that high that I labeled as 5 there, 5-wave sequence. Could not stay above that upper channel line, moved down again, and eventually broke outside to the downside below this channel. And that's sort of what we've been waiting for. My thinking is still that gold might still correct lower. We were expecting a bounce to the upside. And reason being is that this could potentially have been the first leg lower of a much deeper decline. First, I have to get rid of that snap mode, sorry. Something like that. Obviously, if this is corrective, it could, decide to trace out any sort of correction, but the most common ones being ABCs or single zigzags. And we were tracking this decline as a potential 1, a 2, and it was, I think, a couple of weeks back, we start seeing this bounce here, and I said that potentially be corrective, and that did work out, and we've seen another strong decline. Now you can count a beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm expecting a potential deeper retracement to the upside for a potential B wave, and then potentially a C wave at a later stage. So if we look at a retracement at the moment, price hasn't even reached the 38.2% retracement yet. I think that is definitely an area price could be moving towards. If you look at today's levels to lock, price being below today's pivot point at 1,982. Found support at today's S1 at 1970 and has since broken back to the upside. Just cleared R1 at 1992, cleared today's projected range high, and has just reached today's projected high deviation 1 at, again, can't see the level, around 2,000. So my expectations is that price could potentially break these highs over here, maybe even give a retest of that lower channel over here, where we'll also have that 50% retracement. So again, we'll recap things on Monday, see where price is at. And with all these markets, we obviously cover, see how, investors reacted to tomorrow's non-farm payrolls, if at all. Might be a non-event, but let's see. And finally, that brings me to crude oil. And we've here also obviously seen a very strong sell-off. In the beginning of May, price pipped a previous low that was set here towards the end of March. Was it mid-March? Sorry. We had a 5-wave sequence to the upside, and that was actually what we discussed after the fact, obviously, because the 5-wave sequence, one would expect just a correction with another move higher, but that didn't happen. Price just collapsed, pipped that low, and then bounced back to the upside again. So this was, as we've noted, a potential C wave of an expanding or very ugly looking expanded flat correction. And then we went back to new lows again. So that's a bigger picture view. My expectations is that crude could still head lower, although we're also now seeing one hell of a bounce here to the upside again. But my thinking is that I'm still bearish here on crude oil, that we might head back to test these lows again, maybe even extend a bit more to the downside. So this does look like a potential 3-wave sequence, but with this strong bounce to the upside, that sort of like, I don't know, invalidates this. Maybe this was a 5-wave sequence and we're seeing a correction move to the upside. It won't break these highs and then another decline. Again, we'll have to see. I mean, this is a very, very strong move back to the upside. Price has been hovering around about today's pivot point at 68.10, busted through R1. No issues getting through today's projected range high. We have a bit of, I won't say confidence, but very close. We have these two levels to lock, R2 and today's projected high deviation at 70.94, which price has just reached. and it's sort of like, yeah, that's where it's hovering at right now. So again, we'll recap things again on Monday on crude oil. That's pretty much it from me on the analysis side of things. Hopefully I didn't rush through things too quickly here. How are we doing on time? About 20 minutes in, but we do have Carl in the house as well. So really like to see his view or his analysis. I don't know in any of these markets, really up to him. But also, if you guys got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll be more than happy to address those for you guys.
Sure thing. Well, thank you so much, Richard, for the analysis, for the insights as always. As Richard just said, if you have any questions about the analysis, anything that we just showed you, please feel free to fire away in the chat here. We'll be happy to take a look with you.
Yeah, that was awesome, Richard. Yeah, I'm right in line with you on a lot of those things. One of the just intraday levels that I was looking at that we're apparently approaching right now here in the ES is right around that 42.34.5 level. That was the kind of the move up right before this precipitous drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there in that area. Actually, I could share my charts if that's cool.
Sure. Yeah. Looks like we don't have any questions coming through just yet. So if anything comes up, guys, feel free to fire away in the chat. We'll take care of it. But for now, we're going to hand the reins over to Mr. Kyle Kinne, the man, the myth, the legend.
I still have my learner's permit here, guys. So I'll have one hand on the reins over here. So
I got to give you the treatment I gave Craig. We'll give you a Mr. Kyle Kinne in the house. Take it away, sir.
Yeah. Pew, pew, pew. All right.
Excellent.
Let's go ahead. Yeah, I was looking at the ES following along with Richard. Yeah, totally in line with him is right away. And yeah, looking at that Russell, it kind of looks like a food fight between a couple of levels there. But admittedly, I actually kind of like trading the Russell, and maybe it's just that volatility, and maybe it's a little bit of madness. I'm not too sure which one it is. Good combination of both, but it can be a fun market to trade. At any rate, yeah, looking at here at the 60 minutes. So yeah, this is the level that I was looking at right through here. It's 42.34.5, and certainly appear to be running into, probably going to go ahead and run into that level here at some point. But you can almost see right after this, where is that news announcement here at 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock, a little bit of jitters here off that 10 a.m. numbers, and you can see almost like the algo's taking over here and just kind of running this up higher here at this point. But otherwise, yeah, this 42.34.5 level, it was a level that I am looking to see if we can go ahead and tag here at some point. Prior to that, I was looking for a pullback into, so we had this little period of consolidation right through here. And right when this move that kind of launched off from here, we came back and revisited right here at 41.80. This was, let's see here, I'm going to pull this back here. Oh, actually, it's better seen on the 15-minute time frame. This is super short term, guys, so bear with me. But yeah, this area, right through here, a lot of consolidation, kind of the launch point right here, pulled back right to 41.80. So that was a nice move off the lows, and then the bull's just been in control ever since. But right now, that 42.34.5 is the area that I'm looking to see if we can go ahead and get tagged. But yeah, it certainly looks like the bulls are in control. What's that?
It looks like it might get reached. I should say might, not definitely.
Yeah, it's long and strong, man. The ADP number came out, was it yesterday? That surprised to the upside, and the NFP number I know is due out tomorrow as well. So, that's we'll see if there's any surprises there. But interesting. I was reading an article today, and you keep hearing about kind of doom and gloom stuff with the market. At least I still hear it and stuff like that. And so I just kind of look at different articles. How are people spending their money? And one of the articles that came through was that cruise ships said that they had they were booking at like 101 or 103% capacity over Q1, and they're still being booked out here into the future. I mean, people are still out there, they're still spending money, and it's reflected in on all these retail numbers and whatnot. Absolutely. At least here in stateside,
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how all the closet bears come out of the woodworks when things look gloomy, but then the market does something else. You know what I mean? It's like I could sometimes just could take clips of some, or screenshots of some of these headlines coming out and what actually happens in the market. Then, it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's crazy. Jim Cramer, oh my God, man, he's turned into the new, like if he says something is going down, you buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to be like kind of the, he'll come in and say something is super bearish, and that just seems to be the time to buy. I know this is getting simulcasted out there in the universe, so I don't want any legal action against me, Mr. Kramer. Anyways, actually backing out here, and if anybody's wondering what this line is looking at here, one of the things I was looking at as Richard was talking there, projecting the new levels here. This line here, and this is a little bit of Craig's measured moves. I remember a guy I worked with in the past used this a lot, and it was kind of freaky accurate. But you look at the previous moves here, and you see this leg and kind of another move higher. And according to if we got another symmetrical move here, I mean that put us right up to around the 4,300 level. So that's quite interesting, and it's a nice round number for us to kind of to tag at some point.
Yeah, it does look like the same sort of angle of ascent as well. If you look at all these other moves to the upside, they've been very strong, but on the other side, flip coin to the downside again, very strong as well. Sort of V-shaped tops and bottoms all over the show.
Right. It's just, when it comes down to it, it's just, it's a lot of, just trade what you see, if just follow the charts, forget all that noise and all that stuff. Just follow the charts, and
and also decide where you want to trade at, not just jump in trying to just trade for the sake of it. It's like define your areas like you did there, where price beautifully tagged that area and reverse back upwards again. So
right,
sort of like a value area if you want.
Are you talking about these moves right here? I mean, it's folks talk about trying to get early into a move and whatnot, and they as the market's going down, they're trying to pile in and whatnot. But I mean, if you just trade what you see, you wait for the market to, for instance, put in a bottom, and then let that bottom kind of form, and then trade out of that bottom, and then kind of like let that bottom form, get that if you're looking for a long trade, let wave one occur. Look for that wave two pullback, that ABC pullback, and then that's where you go ahead and
see, let price guide you what it wants to do.
Right.
Trying to pick highs and lows or tops and bottoms is obviously, like to say, a losing game, right?
Right. What did somebody say one time? When you try to pick bottoms, you get smelly fingers.
We'll have to remember that one.
That's a good one.
Oh man, I think I just upped the rating on our YouTube. We're gonna have to change that there.
All right.
Well, my first thought was that kind of gives me clearance to then get PG-13 with my dad jokes. So
yes.
Oh, there we go, man. I just broke open the dam there.
Awesome.
Super interesting. Another thing I was looking at here earlier was, let's see here. Here it is. Yeah, the YM. YM had a kind of an interesting move here. And, there's a beautiful kind of inverse head and shoulders that you saw from back here. And price, there's a setup that we talked about going way back with Richard now. Actually, I say way back, it's a couple of years now, I think, since we've done a workshop together. But there's a specific setup in the workshop called the flip trap setup. And you guys getting this kind of free of charge here, a little free setup here,
which is good.
When you look at the previous day's low and you see, you kind of see the strong move like that, the YM set up pretty nicely, again, depending on the time frame that you were looking at here, but looking at the YM, that set up pretty nicely where you had the previous day low and then you had a move below it, then a close right above it. Now, provided the next candle did have a close below it. But according to the flip trap setup, you would go ahead and place an order at the candle, and this would be on a shorter time frame, but you'd go ahead and place an order, let's say like I'm all over the place here. You'd place an order right here at the candle that broke that low. If it didn't get filled on that next order, you can go ahead and get more aggressive with it and put the order right at the high of that next candle here, and then it flipped right on you and then went up. But it has to break like the previous day's low or the previous day's high, and you want to pair that up with structure. So you would come back and you can see that this what we call a flip trap here at 32,800, coincided with some support here from a previous inverse head and shoulders here. So you'd see a shoulder, head, a shoulder here, and then a break. And where this actually candle occurred is that you can actually see a nice strong move here and a pullback almost to the middle of, if I were to, let's go ahead and just put a volume profile on this real quick.
Exactly.
Yeah, comes back, retests this little high volume node right here in the middle. And there's also some good structure around this area here as well. Some highs and lows came right back into this area. And so there's a confluence with, potential flip trap setup where it breaks the previous day's lows, coupled with a high volume, a retest of some high volume area from an inverse head and shoulders pattern. And that was just a beautiful trade on the day.
And breakout sellers getting slaughtered on that reversal.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the idea is, it sounds bad when I teach it, but flip traps are kind of based on, where's the market going to screw you the most? Where's it going to screw you like the most traders? And because we've all been on that side of things, right? Where you try and buy a breakout and it like works against you immediately, and you're just kind of kicking yourself for it, and you're trapped into a trade essentially, right?
Sure. I was there last week.
Yeah. So the exact feelings that you feel when you're trapped, just imagine like other people, are also feeling that, and this setup really kind of captures that kind of momentum and psychology right there. Because if you're short here on that breakout, because you think it broke that low, it's going, and all of a sudden it turns against you. You got to think, man, you're putting those buy orders in real fast to try and get out of that, unwind that position, get out of it. You're probably panicking a little bit. And just imagine like all these buy orders are coming in, and then this is also off a news number here as well. Just ignited that move to the upside. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Strong stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. I do see really quickly, I'll just note our good buddy For a Reason is back with us here on YouTube. Ran a few minutes late. No problem at all. We're glad you could make it. I'll just use this opportunity very quickly, whether you're here with us in Zoom or if you're over on YouTube. If you have any questions for us today, any questions for Kyle, for Richard, about any of the analysis, some of the setups we're looking at here, please feel free to fire away in the chat. We'll be happy to dig into it with you. I'll do a quick time check, see where we're at. We'll probably be getting out by, at the very latest today, a quarter to the hour. We have some obligations to fulfill, but that still leaves us with a few more minutes, plenty of time for questions if you have any.
Or we can talk NBA Finals talk. I might be alone in that, but if anybody watches the NBA Finals, there it is. Let's go Heat.
Nice.
Oh, you support Heat. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Good luck, Heat.
As a spectator, purely with no stakes in it, I was kind of rallying with Boston. I'm not going to lie. Nothing personal. It was just I love to see an underdog story playing out. But,
no, it's personal between you and me now, Nate.
Are we waiting for the Rugby World Cup in 100 days' time?
Oh, nice.
What you waiting for for what now?
The Rugby World Cup.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's going to be pretty cool.
Nice.
We're the current world champs, so let's see if we can do that again. But yeah.
Got to repeat, man. Repeating is tough.
It is tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like France and Ireland's definitely the favorites at the moment.
Yeah.
I'll be rooting
We'll
for
see.
It's so funny. When I look at sport, I guess, when you're a trader, you look at everything from a trader's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at, somebody threw up a picture the other day of like this mountain range, and they were looking at it as an ascending triangle because it was kind of sloping down and whatnot, and like, but you always kind of look at it like that. But when you watch teams win, and just the psychology behind it, and the coach down here for the Heat, he's big into kind of growth mindset and grit and all that stuff, and how you kind of going through the ups and downs, but kind of keeping that stoic, even keel type of approach and being super process oriented. But when you look at these champions, like what happens is like you keep, and it seems true in trading. Like sometimes you just go on these streaks and you start, hitting every trade. You feel like you're just in the zone with the market. what happens, and the thing that's you have to fight against most of the time, is that complacency that sits in, right? You start taking things a little bit more for granted. You start looking at, instead of spending 30 minutes looking at your charts before the market's open, you spend, 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And that, like, the biggest enemy for trading, especially when you're kind of on that hot streak, is just that complacency that sets in. And you start, forgetting the basics and stuff like that. And the same is so true with life,
Sure, absolutely. Yeah,
so the ego.
It's a good way to see stalled growth too. One thing I always like to say, and it's brought me comfort, is, growth rarely happens when you're comfortable. So if you're feeling outside of your comfort zone or things are feeling crazy, sometimes you can take a step back and use that to gauge this as a positive situation, as growth evolution is happening. But yeah, you start to get a little too comfortable, a little too lazy, and that growth stalls. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely true. And if you're too comfortable, it gets boring, right?
That's true too.
You got to keep life spicy, man.
I like it. Keep life spicy here at Profits at Noon. Awesome.
Life spicy and smelly fingers, you say.
We've learned a few things today.
I got to bring a little bit of color to the YouTube channel today, man.
Yeah,
sure.
More forms than one.
Absolutely.
Oh man!
As mentioned, Thursday seems to be a busier day for a lot of folks. So I mean, it's been more of a laid back kind of, definitely a great opportunity for us to have some fun. So we're very glad you were able to join us here today. It doesn't look like we have any questions coming through here in the chat, so we're going to go ahead and wrap in just a minute here. Of course, we will see our tradition through here. And as I always say, this is either a threat or a promise when I guarantee it at the beginning of the session, depending on your viewpoint. But we do have our dad joke of the day locked and loaded here, for better or worse. So,
oh dear,
I'm waiting for it, man.
This might be waiting all day.
I came out of my hole for this, Nate.
It's pretty bad. All of them are. It's fair to say they're all pretty bad. But if you're new to these sessions, by the way, just very quickly, I'll note this is something fun we like to do towards the end of some of our sessions. What we call it's either a terrible pun or a dad joke. But here we are today, so I'm going to unleash today's dad joke, and I'll also enter it in the chat here for you. Kyle, since you're our special guest, we'll put you in the hot seat. What happens to nitrogen when the sun comes up?
Oh, man. I failed chemistry, so I have no idea.
We'll give the folks in the audience a chance as well to shoot a reply if you do have a clue as to this terrible pun that is incoming here. But once more, what happens to nitrogen when the sun comes up? Cue up our Jeopardy music. Give you a second here. All right, folks, you'll hear it here first. It becomes daytrogen. Nitrogen becomes daytrogen when the sun comes up.
That's terrible.
You're welcome, or I'm sorry.
Depending. Richard, what do you do with this guy every day, man? Yeah. I mean,
right. I've actually sent him some other dad jokes so he can change his tune a little bit, but no.
No, that was all appreciated. Absolutely. I enjoyed that video you sent the other day, Richard. And then Mark, that's an appropriate reaction, Mark. Thank you. Mark. That is exactly just labored, just a long sigh, any sort of labored grunt, groan is the appropriate reaction there. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here today. Quickly, just to recap, if you were new to these sessions, this is Ninjacators' new weekly live event called Profits at Noon. We are live 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, all at noon Eastern time. In addition to all this great live analysis, as you can see, we have very cool special guests. We do tool spotlights, and we also share live events from the Ninjacators calendar. So lots to look forward to coming up next week. I believe we're due for another visit from our good friend Craig Hill and an update on his Robot Lab portfolio. So we'll keep you in the loop of everything that's coming up. We hope to see you on Monday at noon Eastern time. In the meantime, I just want to thank once more Richard, as always, for the insights. Kyle, we thank thank you for your time. It was great to have you here today. And then, of course, the audience, whether you're here with us in Zoom, over on YouTube, it's always a pleasure to have you. For a reason, I'm glad you were back here in Zoom. Hal, Imtiaz, and Mark, it was great to have you. Just have a great weekend in the meantime. If you need anything, if anything comes up, you think of something, a question maybe that was lingering today outside of this session, feel free to shoot us an email at support@ninjacators.com, or you can grab that phone number plastered all over the website, and one of our support ninjas will be happy to help. So once more, thank you, everybody. We'll give our gurus here one quick shot at any parting wisdom on the way out the door, and then we'll see you all next week. So I'll go to you first, Kyle, for any potential parting wisdom, and then we'll close with Richard.
Yeah, guys. One of the I don't have too much wisdom, as my wife will say quite often. It'll remind me of. But yeah, I mean, a couple of levels I'm watching for. I mean, you can see the squeeze up a little bit higher. NFP's coming out tomorrow, so be patient. Let the trade, let the market come to you. Don't start chasing anything or get carried away, especially in a market like this. Plot your levels, plot your traps in the market, and just sit in the bushes and just wait for the market to come to you before you execute. So. But it was an honor to be here. I'm not here too often with you guys. It's always fun to kind of cut up here in the middle of the day and talk trades and profits and all that stuff too. So I enjoyed my time here today with you guys. I definitely appreciate you guys letting me break in here, at least for a day.
Awesome. Great having you, Carl. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I don't have too much to add to that. I think exactly share your sentiments. So besides the analysis, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, great weekend, and we'll touch base on Monday again.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And one more quick shout out to everybody joining us over on YouTube. If you want to join us in these Zoom sessions directly for the future Profits at Noon broadcast, please check beneath the video in the description. There is a link. You can get signed up and join us here. You'll get reminders, the full boat. So thank you again, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will see you all again on Monday. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Bye-bye. Cheers, everyone.